There you go, perfect. So thank you very much, guys, for joining. I know, virtual meetings are a bit harder than, actually, I find virtual meetings are harder than in-person meetings. So far, I had way better turnouts on the in-person meetings than virtual meetings. I don't know why, but yeah, thanks very much for joining. And actually, I was thinking about maybe doing this during the day. I don't know if I'm looking at 5:30, so this is the Toronto user group meetup for Marketing Cloud. Maybe if we do them during the day, it would be better for people. So just let us know what you guys think. Maybe after work, the last thing is you want to do is hear more about Salesforce. So yeah, just let us know in the messages. Maybe if you want to do this next time during the day, during work hours, or after work hours. Yeah. So today we are going to listen at two presentations. This is the first meetup that I won't be talking that much, although I already doing that for a few minutes now. But we have two guest speakers, Gregory for DESelect. He's going to talk about their solution and how it makes life easier for people who use Salesforce Marketing Cloud and not necessarily want to tinker with SQL queries and things like that. They have a pretty neat solution for that. And the second speaker will be Coyote, who is a solution architect. Actually, a friend of mine. We worked at the same company, but now he founded his own company, and he's going to talk about creating preference centers with AMPscript. So both of them are going to be fun to listen to for sure. Awesome. Let's see. Gregory is having some issues connecting, but I have still some slides that I can show to you. So yeah, just some other things. I always tell everyone that you guys should join the rest of the meetup groups. There's so many meetup groups here in Toronto. They are great, all of them actually. I know the developer one is having a meetup soon. So Women in Technology, developers group, non-for-profit group, and administrator groups, or very, very good resources to just learn about Salesforce and the products that each of them represent. Or yeah, so please feel free to join them. A quick word about myself. I've been using Salesforce Marketing Cloud for a few years now. Have a few certifications in Salesforce and Marketing Cloud and even Pardot. And currently, I'm a senior technical product owner of Salesforce Marketing Cloud at Manulife. But that being said, things are going to change. Actually, this is going to be my last meetup that I'm hosting. I'm stepping down as a user group leader, but it's because of a good cause. The reason is that I recently got hired at Salesforce as a program architect in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So I can't do user groups. User groups are for the community, the Salesforce user, the people who do this. It cannot be hosted by a Salesforce employee. So that's why I'm leaving, but it's not goodbye. It's see you later. The new user group leaders that are going to take over, I will be more than happy to come and speak at these meetings or support this meetup 100% of my power, because I've been leading this meetup group for I think over 2 years now. We're very close to around that time. So I'm leaving. Other people are coming. Not official yet, but it most likely 2 people will take over the leadership of this group. And yeah, just give them a lot of love. I know they are going to be great at what they're doing, and both of them have vast knowledge of Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So I'm pretty sure you guys are going to hear some good presentations from them and have some good meetings. Hopefully, we can have a meetup in person. I don't think that will happen this year, unfortunately, at least how things are looking here in Toronto. But yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah, thanks, guys. So with that, that was the end of my presentation. So let me unshare my screen, and I see that Greg is here. So let me give him the, make him presenter. And Greg, you should be able to unmute yourself and start your presentation. If you're still having issues, just let me know.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Perfect.
All right. So, hey everyone, thanks Andrei for inviting me for this event, and thanks everyone for joining. So today I will talk about segmentation in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and I have a presentation prepared for that. So we will basically see how you can segment in Salesforce Marketing Cloud without using any tools, such as without using SQL queries, without the need to use any third-party tools, how you can manage your data in Salesforce Marketing Cloud and without data to leave your Marketing Cloud account. So let me share my screen. Yep, should be able to see that now. All right, this is the presentation. So I will tell about DESelect. Is a segmentation solution for Salesforce Marketing Cloud, which allows marketers to target and segment their audience without writing SQL queries. So it's a drag and drop solution, which does not require any technical knowledge to use it. And today we will have 3 call to actions that I will share with you in the chat. So follow the presentation and you'll find some more interesting stuff there. So, and here we go. We will start with our first call to action, and that would be our Marketing Cloud, Salesforce Marketing Cloud Chrome extension, which is basically a free Chrome extension that allows marketers to find Marketing Cloud objects, well, just easily by typing it in a search panel. So you can search through your query activities, your data extensions, content builder objects, and so on. So I'm sharing the link in a chat so you could already check it out.
To let you guys know, I definitely, this is something that I use all the time. The business units I manage have hundreds and thousands of data extensions. So even without actually meeting or knowing Greg, I've been using this solution for probably over a year. Yeah, I think no, actually, as soon as it came out, I've been using it. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's good to know. And well, I think that was over a year ago, so you're quite a long user. Thanks, Andrei, for sharing. Indeed. All right, then let's go. So, really, what's the mission of DESelect? Enable marketers to resolve their data challenge. Well, the data challenge is that data comes into Marketing Cloud from different sources. And if you have worked with more technical aspects of Marketing Cloud, you may face synchronized data extensions, shared data extensions that populate your database, or simply manual data import or automated API data import. However, marketers face a lot of issues, such as different data types, a lot of data extensions, record duplicates, and so on. So to prepare a proper segment, a proper database, they utilize a lot of tools, such as downloading their data extensions through FTP client, manage it in Excel, or alternatively, they utilize SQL queries. Well, there are some other solutions that marketers may use, such as for example, I found that some marketers use Salesforce even reports to segment their audience. There are some advantages why they can use it. However, these tools require either technical expertise on how to use it, or basically they require well, if you choose Excel, for example, you may face a lot of mistakes while segmenting your data. So our goal in DESelect to enable marketers to combine all the data from all the data sources into personalized and targeted campaigns without technical expertise. And so how the engine for targeting in Marketing Cloud should be, and according to Marketing Cloud marketers that well, would love to have such an engine in Marketing Cloud. It should be intuitive, and when I say intuitive, it should require no technical knowledge at all. So even junior marketers who just graduated from their university should be able to use it. And secondly, it should be integrated. So there should be no extracts, uploads, or let's say separate data logins. So it should be single sign-on. Data should remain in Salesforce Marketing Cloud and do not leave the platform. So it means that data remains in Marketing Cloud platform and it is not being transferred to our servers to be processed. So it is, from a technical perspective, it's processed on Marketing Cloud server itself. Right, and so you may have a question in mind. What does it mean for campaign marketers and for marketing campaigns? So here you can see an actual campaign cycle, which consists of planning, segmentation, audience creation, content creation, and content writing and reporting. So with DESelect, we actually focus on segmentation audience creation part. However, we find that our clients also are able to create some reports, or so to say, prepare data for reporting, because with DESelect you can also access data views to prepare more personalized and more more precise reports based on customers' behavior. However, we focus on this part, on segmentation, audience creation, and according to our case study, we are able to save 50% spent on time management. Time spent on data management. So it gives us additional 20% for each marketing campaign. So when you scale it to 1-year project, it leads to higher number of marketing campaigns, higher marketing ROI, and of course, improved quality of your email campaigns. And to mention some success stories, so well, we helped Cambridge University Press, and their story was quite interesting. So, so in Cambridge University Press, they managed all their data in Microsoft Excel. So they had to download it to to their PC, open the spreadsheet, apply some filters, and then upload it back. And it took a lot of time, up to several days, until data is segmented. So when they implemented DESelect, they put a stopwatch, and it took them less than 5 minutes to do a query that usually could take an hour. So now even junior marketers, as mentioned, can do it without any technical expertise there. And this presentation will be shared. If you are interested in checking the whole story, feel free to check the link. Another success story is Practicing Law Institute. So pretty interesting story as well, because they were considering investing funds in SQL trainings for marketers. So they were just about educating their whole marketing team how to write SQL queries, which was time consuming and of course not very let's say not very comfortable for marketers to do that. So they invested in DESelect instead, so they changed the direction of their investment, and currently, the training was cancelled, and marketers can segment their data without any technical knowledge. Yep. So we are already on the AppExchange. We have plenty positive feedbacks there. So the link to the AppExchange will also be shared, and feel free to check us out there. And now I'm going to show you a brief live demo of DESelect. So I will show you a very simplified example that you can already see how the application works. So I will start with Email Studio. So I will use 3 data extensions. So that would be accounts, contacts, and opportunities. Let me show you those. So these are pretty standard Salesforce objects. This ones, and let me show you an example of opportunities. I will not show you all of them because I guess you're already familiar with these three objects. However, I would like just to emphasize that we will use stage field, and it can be either closed, lost. Yeah, you see that it can be closed, won, or it can be open. So, and the structure of these data extensions are pretty standard. So we have a primary key as ID, opportunity ID, account ID to be linked to accounts data extension, and some other information such as product code, source, close date, etc. So now I will open DESelect, and as mentioned, we are an AppExchange solution, so you can already access it if you drag and drop, if you use this drop-down menu under AppExchange button. So when I just press DESelect, the first screen that I would see will be this dashboard. Well, this dashboard contains selections, and well, each selection can be perceived as a segmentation scenario, or alternatively, for data architects or development teams, you can also perceive it as SQL queries in a graphical interface. So we call them selections, and each selection, for example, selection called retail 1 has a status. And if you see a tick here, it means that this selection was already run and it had some results. In our case, that's 11 records. You can see that who created it, that was me, and when it was created. And if you scroll there a bit, you can see that it was last modified and so on. So you can copy and delete each of the selections. Again, you can also group them by folders, by functions, by users, as you need. Now let me show how you can create a selection in less than 5 minutes. So I'm pressing this new selection button. So to create a selection, we will go through 3 easy steps. First of all, we will define our selection criteria. So basically, we will define our source data extensions, we will define the relationship between those, and we will apply some filters. Then second step would be creating a target data extension, and we will define what fields we are going to include from the source DEs and how it should be populated. And finally, we'll see a preview of our results before running the query. So we can see the total number of records before even running the query, and we'll see how it will look like. So let's start here, and I can just look for the data extension. In my case, I'll start with accounts DE. By the way, here you can access all data extensions that you can find in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, meaning synchronized data extensions, shared data extensions, standard data extensions, of course, and data views. So I will start with accounts data extension, and here I just given it an alias. So it's just a shorter name of your data extension, which will be displayed only in DESelect. So it never changes the original name of data extension, right? So I just click Save, and then I would love to add contacts DE, and I drop it over accounts. I also give it an alias, Save. So here's the place where magic for non-technical marketers happen. Basically, we are creating a SQL query join or data relationship just by defining these 3 fields. So in accounts data extension, I define account ID. Here I can define the data relationship type. In my case, that would be accounts with matching contacts or inner join. But if you would like to use other joins or exclusions, that's all supported. So yeah, here you can see exclusions, outer joins, right outer join, and so on. But we will use just inner join for this example. And here I would choose account ID as well. And then I click Save. So let me add another data extension. I drop it over accounts, again, giving it an alias. click in save, and here I do exactly the same. So that would be inner join based on account ID fields in both data extensions. So we have just added 3 data extensions, and we created a relationship between them. So there are no limits on the number of the data extensions and on number on relationships between them. So now we are moving to available fields, and here you can access all fields from source data extensions. To apply some filters, you just basically need to drag and drop them over filter section. There we go. And well, if I apply 3 or more of them, I can group them by pressing these plus buttons. But for today's example, let's make it very simple. So here you can either type your values manually, or you can just use pick lists, and this function goes through the whole data extension field and checks all the values in your source data extension field. So marketers are able just to press one of these 3 or more values in this field instead of typing. So that saves a lot of time and helps to avoid any mistakes. So fine, that was our first step. Now we are moving to the second one called target definition. So here you can either use an existing target data extension, or you can create a new one on the go, which is a huge time saver. So we do now, and I will call it target DE demo, and it should be sendable and testable. I can choose the location, that would be demo data folder. Then I click save. So to create a new target data extension, you can either drag and drop fields from source data extensions one by one, and you can edit each of them by removing, by unchecking these primary key boxes, checking nullable boxes, setting up the default values, lengths, and so on. But to speed up the process, you can just press add all fields, and it will automatically add all fields from your source data extension. Let's do a quick cleanup. So we don't need 2 primary keys here, and we need to delete some duplicate fields such as ID and account ID. Yeah, okay, now that looks much better. And here at the bottom, I can define a send relationship to subscribers. So in my case, well, it depends on the data model, of course, but I would use email field in this example. Right, so now I click Save Data Extension, and it's already created and saved in your Salesforce Marketing Cloud account. Again, you can change data action, override, append, or update. And here, I will not go through all of that functions now, but just bear in mind that you can also define dynamic values, which is a case-when statement. So it's a rule, populate your fields based on a certain rules. And you can also define deduplication logic. So in case you have duplicate records in your data extensions, for example, ID1, how would you choose which one to take? So you can define, let's say, take that record that has the most recent close date, or a certain city, and so on. So that's the steps that you can do here in target definition. And once you have done that, we are moving to the final step called preview. To launch it, let's give it a name called example Meetup. Here we go. And to see the preview, I just click run our preview, and you see our sliding penguin. That means that your preview is being generated. So what's the preview itself is? It's an example of 20 records out of the total number of records. So it will show you the fields in your target data extension and how they will be populated. So marketers would need it to check if if they have chosen the right fields, if the rules they applied work same as they expected, and if filters that they have designed in the first step give them the desired result. Finally, they can also see the total number of records that they will get after running this selection. So if you see there are 0 or several millions, and you didn't expect this number, you can go back and change this criteria so to adjust it. When if you're satisfied with your selection, you can either save it. So when you click save, it will be just saved into the dashboard that we saw in the beginning of the demo part. Or if you click run, it will generate a SQL query in the background, run and execute it. Right. So basically, it will populate your target data extension with the results of this selection. Right. So yep, we can check some data here, and as we can see, that type is always customer. Let's say, yeah. So stage is open, which is fine. And if you wait some more minutes, we will see the total number of records. But I already know that it would be around 50 records. Right. So that's how you can create a selection in DESelect. So these are these 3 steps again, and once we are finished, we can easily save it. All right. So let's get back to our presentation. Okay, here we go. So you might have a question in mind. So is there an implementation track, and what happens when DESelect is being installed? So DESelect is plug and play solution, meaning that there is no implementation track, and it can be connected to Marketing Cloud organization in a matter of minutes. We also provide onboarding session for 2 hours for our that's usually train the trainer sessions where we educate some key users who can then give trainings themselves. And that would educate marketers how they can use DESelect. And also we provide hypercare period. So during the first 2 months, we take marketers' hand and guide them through their data model if needed. So we help them to understand how they can use their data extensions, their fields, their data views to get their segments ready. So we help them to understand it and overcome their challenges. So here we have another call to action, which is we also share with our marketers, with our clients, with marketers. So that's our blog or thought leadership portal. And again, to see very useful articles on how to create your data model and how to use data views or how you can create certain segments and even create an RFM model and frequency segmentation model in Marketing Cloud, you would like to definitely check out our blog. So I'm sharing a link in the chat. Here we go. Please feel free to subscribe. Yep. And we are going further. So, and here we have the third call to action, and that would be something interesting for Salesforce partners. So we provide partner demo accounts for Salesforce Marketing Cloud sandboxes or demo organizations. So to get one, simply drop an email to support@deselect.io and mention that you saw this presentation on today's meetup, and our support team will provide you an access to your DESelect demo account. On top of that, you get your partner enablement package. So you have some demo data slides, segmentation scenarios, and some basically instructions how you can try DESelect out. And if you're interested in marketing collaboration, also feel free to drop an email so that we can write articles together or record some YouTube videos or give interviews. Right. So again, this presentation will be shared, and I have collected most useful resources that you may like to check afterwards. So that would be our website, editions and features website, page, where you can check what features are already available. To check demos and thought leadership practices, check our YouTube channel. Again, a link to our blog will be shared. Release notes, here you can see that release updates for each month, and we do add significant functions each month. For example, we added pick lists, case when statements, deduplication, being able to work with subqueries, work with several sources, and so on. So each month we add significant updates to our app. You can also check out our support portal. And for partners, please use this email. And if you are interested in content collaboration, feel free to drop an email to this email address. And now, so that's what I wanted to share for today. I would like to thank everyone for your attention. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them right now. I'm switching to chat to see if there are any.
Thank you so much, Greg. Yeah, I know that the skill that is required to write SQLs it's always hard to find. Even companies I've worked at, and then I ask them like, okay, who knows to write a SQL to create a segment, and it was crickets, quiet. Nobody knew how to write SQL. So this is definitely a great way to segment, and the fact that data doesn't leave Salesforce Marketing Cloud, it's actually a very, very good thing for a lot of organizations who are finicky about their data security. Any questions, guys? If you have, post them in the chat. And yeah, I guess Gregory will sit for a few more minutes. It's pretty late where he is from, so I don't think he will wait till the end of this meetup. But yeah, thank you so much, Greg. It was really, really nice.
Sure. Thanks, Andrei. And it was a pleasure for me. Thanks again. And thanks everyone for your attention. Okay.
Thank you. Next up, we are going to hear about some AMPscript magic and how preference centers are being created, which always is a big thing for companies. I know enterprise clients who still use Marketing Cloud's built-in preference center, which it's good. It does get the job done, but there's always room for improvement to personalize it and to make it more specific to your company. So let me just make Coyote a presenter. And now you should be able to share your screen, turn your mic on, and yeah, feel free to start.
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me?
We can. Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you everyone for joining. Thanks, Gregory. That was a really useful presentation there. I know working with a lot of clients, that segmentation piece is always a big deal. So definitely, you guys check that out. So today I'm going to be talking about, let me share my screen. And can you guys all see my screen? Okay, awesome. So my name is Coyote Adeniji. I'm a solution architect for Marketing Cloud at MarketCatch. And today I just wanted to walk you guys through building a custom preference center using AMPscript only in the Marketing Cloud. So what we're going to go through today, I'm just going to talk a little bit about why you would even want to develop a custom preference center. Then I'll walk through a use case that I did for one of our clients to kind of give you an idea of how to actually build it up and the components that are required. And then I'll walk you through a quick demo of the actual preference center and kind of how it works and how it links with all the components in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So why would you want to develop a custom preference center? So as Andrei alluded to towards the end there, sorry. Towards the end there is a standard preference center that comes out of the box with Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and I have a screenshot here. But as you can see, it's not the most beautiful preference center, but it, as Andre said, it does get the job done. But some limitations that you'll see is, you can't add a lot of brand elements, maybe beside your logo that I believe you can have in the top left-hand corner. You don't really have access to the page to modify the layout, change the font size, or add any additional, graphic elements that you want. And while this still does the job, you're kind of missing out on, giving your subscribers the best experience that you can possibly give them with your brand, right? So people will often opt for a custom preference center to be able to have the ability to provide that full branded experience to their subscribers. You can create custom fields, you can synchronize changes that are happening in the Marketing Cloud directly to your Sales Cloud instance. A lot of clients like to have Sales Cloud as their book of record. So that integration between Marketing Cloud and Sales Cloud becomes important, and they want actions that are taken in the Marketing Cloud to update in Sales Cloud automatically. But generally speaking, you just have that ability to give them the full branded experience. You have flexibility to design the page however you want. And one thing that's also really important is that you can do a lot of advanced personalization. So you can display certain things on that preference center based on things that your subscribers have told you about themselves, right? So in this, for the sample that I'm going to show, I'm going to be customizing the page based on language preference, which is a common use case. And I'll kind of walk you guys through kind of the steps and the components to get that done. So how do you build a custom preference center? So I just kind of wanted to, before I kind of go into all the components, I just wanted to call out that I'm doing this for a specific use case. So in this use case, we're building a custom preference center that displays the page in English or French based on the user's language preference, and also provides profile information. So you can actually use this kind of as a template, and you can modify it to whatever your use case might be. But for what I'm going to kind of talk through, that's essentially the use case, just to give you guys a little bit of context. So at a high level, this is what the preference center is going to do. So your subscriber will get an email, and they'll click on the Manage Preferences link, which is supposed to take them to that custom preference center. And once they get on that custom preference center, you will have some AMPscript in the cloud page. So the cloud page is essentially an application in the Marketing Cloud, or a module in the Marketing Cloud, that allows you to build your own microsites and landing pages hosted directly in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So you're essentially creating that cloud page in the Marketing Cloud and putting AMPscript on it. And AMPscript is a proprietary scripting language for the Marketing Cloud, right? And that code is going to determine what's happening on the page, whether data extensions and tables are being edited, or fields are being rendered in a specific language or a specific way. So for our custom preference center for this demo, the AMPscript on that page will render the page according to the subscriber's language preference, so either English or French, and it'll also pre-populate the fields with the values that we've already recorded. Sorry about that. And then from that custom preference center, you'll have the option to either update your profile for subscribers that want to adjust information and adjust preferences. They'll also have a link to a full unsubscribe, and that'll take them to a thank you page. And the thank you page for the update profile option will just update the data extension. So that's a table in the Marketing Cloud. with the preferences and profile updates that the subscriber has provided. And it'll also update the subscriber status in the Marketing Cloud to active. So anytime anyone pushes that button, we want to make sure that, Marketing Cloud sees them as an active subscriber, and we're capturing what their preference and profile updates are. If they click on the full unsubscribe link, it means, unfortunately, for whatever reason, they don't want to receive any more communications from you. And, by CAN-SPAM regulation, you need to, attend to that as quickly as possible. So what the AMPscript is doing here is it's setting all their preference options in your data extension to false. And then it's updating the subscriber status to unsubscribe. So Marketing Cloud knows if I see this subscriber in any list, I have to make sure not to send them an email because they're unsubscribed. So at a high level, that's how the preference center is going to work. And now I'll walk you through, a couple of the components that you need to kind of actually build this. So the first thing you'll need is a preference center link in the email. So this is kind of mandatory again by CAN-SPAM regulation. You need to give your subscribers the option to opt out or manage their preferences. The next thing you'll need is a data extension to store the preferences that you do collect. So when people update their profile, update their preferences, you want to be able to store that somewhere, and then you can use that information for, segmentation or to decide who's going to get a particular communication from your brand or your business. There's a data extension also that stores labels for different languages. So this is not, a mandatory component. It's just, it's kind of really nice to have, because when clients that have subscribers that they want to display and that they want to cater to in multiple languages, oftentimes I've seen subscription centers that have the values hard coded on the page, which just makes the code look very kind of messy, complex, and cumbersome because you have a lot of information there that you could strip away. So this data extension solution really helps to streamline that. It's easy to update if they want to add more languages or change labels. They can just upload that data extension, upload that spreadsheet into the data extension, and the cloud page will automatically pull those labels. And you'll see what that looks like in a second when I walk through the demo. And then for this use case where I built 3 cloud pages. So one is the main preference center page where they can update their profile. And then the other 2 are kind of your thank you confirmation page for whether they updated their profile or if they did a full unsubscribe. Right, and I'll kind of walk you through what each of those components are right now. So the preference center link in the email is pretty easy to kind of set up. When you're in your content builder, this is a screenshot from Content Builder, and what you have it here essentially is that the Marketing Cloud will give you the option of selecting a link. So here I've selected cloud pages, which is in my Marketing Cloud, and I've selected what page I want them to be redirected to when they click on that link. But you also have the option to put in any URL that you need. So if you're managing your preference center outside of the Marketing Cloud, you can put that URL in there, but you'll need to do a little bit more work to make sure that the parameters you need are being passed, so that you can display a page based on your subscribers. Because right now the name of the game is just the more personalized you can make a subscriber's experience, the more they're going to engage with your brand. And I'll show you that as well in a second. The next is the data extension to store your preference and profile attributes. So here the data extension I have has the field information attributes for the profile. So that's your first name, your last name, your email, and your language. That's really important for this specific use case. And then we have the preference information here, which are Boolean fields, as well as unsubscribed to kind of know whether this user is active or unsubscribed. And I have default values set here because once people come in, the assumption is you have their permission to send marketing communications to them from your company or your brand. So we're setting those default values to true here, but the page can update those values as needed when they fill out the form. The next data extension, as I mentioned before, is about the labels. So this is a little bit cropped. There are more fields here, but this is essentially every label that's going to go into my main preference page. So I have all the headers. I have all, this is the first name label, last name label, email label. And these are just labels in whatever the language is. So for this use case, it'll be English and French. But you can add as many languages as you want. And basically, whenever they select a preference for whatever language they want to kind of see the information displayed in, you'll be able to display that in their language. So for this use case, we'll just be doing English and French. And then you'll have the cloud pages. So I mentioned there were 3 cloud pages that were being built here. The main cloud page, the main preferences page, the function there is just to capture the preferences and profile updates. And then we want to send that information, whatever was selected, to the thank you page, and have some AMPscript run some processes there, either to update the data extension or update your master list and the status to let Marketing Cloud know, is this subscriber still active, and what kind of publications are they subscribed to, or do they like to subscribe to? The next one here is the confirmation page for the profile updates. So the primary function here is that it's just collecting that information from your main preference page and updating the relevant data extension or the relevant table with that information that you've provided. And in addition to that, it's also updating your all subscribers list, which is your master list that contains the statuses for everyone in your email channel. And it's updating that to active, because anyone that's updating their profile is still an active subscriber. And then you have your last cloud page, and the function here, again, it's pulling in those values, and it's making sure to make the needed changes to make sure that this subscriber is fully unsubscribed, and that you won't be sending any marketing communications to this user because they've elected to unsubscribe from all of your communications, essentially. So yeah, that's all I had in terms of the presentation, and I'm going to go into the demo right now to kind of tie everything up. I hope I haven't lost people too much. But here, so what you have here is an email that I created, and this email is essentially just has this button for manage your preferences. I just made it big and bold so everyone can see it. And what this button does is it's going to redirect to our cloud page, which has our custom preference center. And what you can see here in this preview and test, it allows you to kind of preview the email, how it's going to look on the client side. And it gives you a little bit of information from the data extension that you intend to be sending from. So right now I'm going to mimic the behavior of, John Doe that has a language preference of English and has set all his preferences to true and is currently not unsubscribed, right? So when I click on this button, it redirects me to my thank you page. So the first thing you'll notice here is, in comparison to the preference center that comes out of the box in the Marketing Cloud, I have a lot more flexibility to design this however I want, right? So for this demo, this is still a fairly simple design, but you can get your in-house designers to design this and put any images and things you want to help enhance your subscribers' experience with your brand. But what I'm going to do essentially is I'm going to change some preferences here, and maybe make this French and change his first name to Johnny. And then I'm going to click on the update profile button and show you what happens. So before I do that, I wanted to show you this. So this is the data extension that's going to house all of the preferences once they change. And here's what it looks like right now. So for John Doe, that's one of our subscribers. their language preference that we have on file is English, and they're subscribed to everything. So once I hit, so what I did here is I just changed it to French, and I unsubscribe from these two sends, and I say, you know, I still want to receive, or John Doe still wants to receive SFMC tips and tricks. The first name is changing to Johnny, everything else stays the same. So once I click on that, it takes me to my thank you page, and you'll notice that immediately the page, the language has changed to French, because I have the labels, and labels are saying that for this subscriber, their preference is French. So, you know, show them the preference page in French. And this is the kind of flexibility that's missing from that out of the box preference page. And it's you know, it's just really nice to give your subscribers that option to be able to decide how they want to engage with you, and what makes it easier to engage with your brand, essentially, right? So if I close out of this and I refresh this data extension here, what you'll notice is for John Doe, you can see that the first name has been updated to Johnny, as I did on that page. The language has been updated to French, and those two checkboxes that I deselected are now false. So in case you're sending any communications for, you know, promotions and offers and news and events, you'll know not to include Johnny Doe now for those communications, because he deselected that. All right. And if I go back to the email, again pretending to be John Doe, and I click on the manage preferences, so this is mimicking what, you know, John Doe would have done if he received the email. If I change that back to John, and let's say I change this back to English, and I reselect, you know, all the options, right? And I click on update profile, you'll notice that the preference center now is back to English, because I changed it to English. And if I refresh this data extension here, you'll notice that the fields have been updated. So his first name is back to John, as he inputted when he updated his profile. Language is changed to English, and everything is now true. So when you're sending out communications for news and events, promotions and offers, you know that, you know, include John Doe, because John Doe wants to receive that kind of information, right? And I also wanted to show you guys what happens when you do a full unsubscribe. So when you do a full unsubscribe, this is the all subscribers list, and the all subscribers list is your master list of all your marketable contacts for the email channel. And you'll see that my 3 kind of dummy subscribers are here, and their subscription statuses are all active. So if I go in here, and let's say, you know, again, pretending to be John Doe, I come in here and I say, okay, you know what? I don't want to receive anything from you guys. It takes me again to, you know, a thank you page. And on this page, I have the AMPscript, and I'll walk through that kind of once I'm done with this quick demo. I have the AMPscript that's kind of doing the work behind the scenes. But what you'll see if I refresh the data extension, or the table that contains the information, you'll see that for John Doe, everything stays the same in terms of the profile information, but you'll see that for all the different subscription types, the fields are now false, which means they don't want to receive anything. And the unsubscribe field is now true, which means they have unsubscribed, you know, don't send this subscriber anything at all, right? And if I take you to the all subscribers list and I refresh this, you'll see that John Doe is now unsubscribed in the Marketing Cloud. So the Marketing Cloud knows that, you know, if I ever see this subscriber in any list, I should not send them any communications because they are now unsubscribed. So if John Doe wants to resubscribe, at least with the way this use case is set up, he can kind of go back to one of the emails that were sent, hit on manage preferences. You can see that it's kind of pre-populated the fields because he's not subscribed to see anything. And if he resubscribes to everything, let's say, and clicks on update profile, again, we see the thank you page in the language of John Doe's preference. And if we refresh this data extension here, check the records, we'll see that for John Doe, language, English, everything here has been set to true, and the unsubscribe is set to false, which means he's now an active subscriber. And in the all subscribers list, so your master list of subscribers in the Marketing Cloud, you'll see that John Doe has been reset to active, where he was unsubscribed initially, right? So that's kind of how the entire thing kind of ties together. And I can, with this preview and test, I can kind of preview what that unsubscribe link would have looked like for any one of the subscribers in my data extension. I only have 3 users in my data extension right now, but let's say for Jane Doe, I click on Manage Preferences. Her desired preference for language was French, so that there again, it's pre-populated and it'll work the exact same way, right? So just to show you a little bit more about how the solution was developed, this is the data extension that houses your label preferences. And this is kind of the full list of all the labels. And essentially all this is it's just keeping your label information, right? So let me just show you that to you here. So for John Doe, whose preferred language is English, you can see that all the labels are in English. And it's essentially just pulling that information from this data extension. So because John Doe's preferred language is English, render the page with these labels that are English labels. Or, if wherever the subscriber's preference is French, render the page with labels that are in French, and it's being pulled from here. So if at whatever point I want to add, Spanish, Arabic, Mandarin, I can just, update this spreadsheet, upload it into this table, and this preference center will pull it directly. You don't need to touch the code that's in the preference center page. It'll just pull it dynamically from here, right? Which is, very powerful functionality that I see a lot of my clients benefit from, just to provide that more customized experience for your subscribers. So now I just kind of want to go through a little bit of the code that goes into each of those preferences. And I'm just going to talk through it very, very briefly, just so you get an idea of what's going on. So on that main preference center page, we're doing a couple of things here. The first thing we're doing is we're setting the variables for pre-populated values, so that those values that pop up when the subscriber clicks on the link, and you can already see what he's already subscribed to, or he or she's already subscribed to, and what their first name, last name is that you have on file. That's what's being set here, and we're using the lookup function, which just looks at the data extension, and it looks at whatever the fields are that you set here. So basically what I'm saying is, set for this variable called lang, right? Look in this data extension and give me the value under the language column for the email that's this email, which I've set here based on the subscriber that comes in. So for John Doe, this was, john.doe@testing.com. So for John Doe, John Doe's language is English. So give me that, set that variable here, and give me his first name, last name, and what his preferences are for news, promotions, and SFMC tips. The next step here is I'm setting the label variable. So this is where I'm setting the variables for the labels that are going to be displayed. And I'm using that, again, that language variable. So in John Doe's case, this would be English. So, give me the header, the first name label, last name label that are English, because that's what the subscriber has selected. If it was French, it would give me those same label variables for French, right? Which is dynamically chosen from this preferences labeled data extension. And then here I'm capturing what they updated. So if they updated anything, this is essentially telling me, okay, when I first land onto the page, what information do I currently have about this subscriber and what their preferences are. And when they change those values, I'm selecting that here. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a request parameter function. So this is an AMPscript function. And this is all AMPscript, by the way, that's going onto that cloud page. And I'm requesting the parameter for first name, last name, language preference, and the preferences that the subscriber chose. And here's my submission logic. So all I'm saying here is, once they submit, if they click on that button, I want you to redirect to this other cloud page, which is my thank you page for if they've updated their profile. Redirect me to this cloud page with these attributes. And then, once that happens, if I take you to the AMPscript for the cloud page, what I'm doing is I'm looking in the parameter for these values that were passed. And I'm setting the label variables here. So it shows, it displays that thank you page in either English or French. Here I'm updating the data extension. So you remember when I showed you how the data extension or the table is updated with the new information that the subscriber has provided. This is the piece of code that's doing that action. It's updating that table with the new values that were passed from the previous page. And then here is the code, the AMPscript that's essentially setting the all subscriber status to active. And that's all this code is doing. So anytime someone from the main preference center hits the submit button or the update profile button, redirect me to this thank you page and pass all these parameters. And on that page, I'm updating my table, displaying my labels accurately based on the language that they chose, and I'm making sure to set my Marketing Cloud subscriber status to active. So the thank you page for the unsubscribed link is similar to for updating your profile. The biggest difference here is that when you're updating the data extension, it's just setting these automatically to false, because anyone that clicked on that link doesn't want to receive anything, and their unsubscribed status in that data extension or table should be set to true. And this is the code that updates that data extension with those values. And the last step here is, again, similar to the previous page. Instead of setting that subscriber status to active, you're setting it to unsubscribe. And yeah, that's essentially kind of all the components that go into building a preference page. So yeah, and then kind of one thing I just want to call out before I close out and for questions is that, this was based on a specific use case that we've kind of worked on for one of our clients. So, you can tweak it to whatever your use case is. Some people don't have like a language requirement where they want to display that page in multiple languages. So they might not need, this labels the data extension, for example, right? And some people have their own preference page that's not hosted in the Marketing Cloud, and you'll just need to tweak that first email to send that subscriber to the external page and pass the parameters, etc. Right? So I just wanted to make sure I call that out so that people don't get the impression that this is the only way to do it. And that's all that I had. Please let me know if you have any questions on how to do it. I believe the meetup is going to be recorded. And Andre, I'm not sure if we can share the slides with the people that are on the call as well, but I'm happy to I'm happy to do that as well. That's helpful.
Yeah, for sure we can. That if you're okay with that. There is one question in the chat regarding asking if the code updates the all sub to active or unsubscribed.
Yes. So it does do that, and I show that. Let me share my screen again. Yes, it does do that. A second here. Yeah, so in the AMPscript, so this again is the AMPscript that's going onto the preference page. And this code here, this bit of code here is what's going to update that subscriber status in the all subscribers list. So whenever they update their profile, they're just updating their profile. It's making sure that it's keeping that subscriber status as active. And then this same piece of code is also on the thank you page for the full unsubscribe. And here you have the code that's essentially setting that status to unsubscribe in your all subscribers list. So this piece of code here where it says update data is updating the data extension. And then this bit of code down here is what's updating the all subscribers list with either active or unsubscribed based on what they've what button or link that they clicked on, right?
Yeah, and we have a few more questions. If you want to answer the next one, don't we need to have publication list for that solution? If a subscriber wants to receive news and announcement but not promotional offers, how would you identify the correct subscribers when sending the email?
Okay, so let me share my screen again. So in this data extension, you don't absolutely need to have publication list, but you can code the preference center to update publication list as well. But essentially what I've done here is I have a data extension here that's managing the preferences. So I have news and announcements, promotions and offers, SFMC tips, and everything here is set to true for all these subscribers. So once they update their profile and preferences, they can opt out of any one of these preferences. And then all you'll see in this data extension is that those values are now false. And then you'll need to probably create an automation that's automatically segmenting people based on the values that they have. So you only want to send, for news and announcements, for example, when you're ready to send that campaign or email out, you want to make sure that you're sending, to the master demo DE where news and announcement is equal to true, because that's everyone that wants to receive this. And you can code that in Automation Studio and create that separate segment as well. But you can also do it via publication list. But for this demo, I've kind of just used the data extensions to do it. So no, you don't absolutely have to do it. Have them in a publication list. You can create segments based off what you have here and send to those segments appropriately.
Yeah, exactly. Just one more word on that is that, yeah, that's true. But in this case, Tawana, that you will have to write a query basically that would join with this table and would say only give me people where they're subscribed to this particular newsletter, whichever they want to send an email to. So yeah, that's one way of doing it, and the other way is publication list as you asked.
Yeah. And the other question is the look and feel of the preference center. Is that AMPscript or HTML, CSS? So it's actually a combination of both. And I can show you where that happens here. So if I go to Web Studio, this is kind of the dashboard. If I go to Web Studio Cloud Pages, okay. And in here, I have all my 3 pages. So my main page, my preference, my thank you page, and my thank you page for the unsubscribed. And if I open this cloud page, you'll see that it's a combination of AMPscript and HTML. So up here, this is essentially the code that I showed you in Sublime. That's essentially capturing that information, setting the label variables, etc. That's what the AMPscript is doing, because it needs to pull information from the tables in the Marketing Cloud. And that's an HTML component here. But there's also another HTML component here, and this is where I have my HTML. So the look and feel is built here. So we have our internal art director build this using HTML and inline CSS. Yeah, and they can do this, make the look and feel however they want with HTML. But within the HTML, you'll see some AMPscript in here as well. So what I'm doing here, for example, is that this is the first name label, right? And this is essentially the syntax to say display the value of this variable, which is first name label, and that variable is set here. And all I'm doing here is I'm looking at that data extension with the preferences, and I'm saying, based on the language that they chose, set this variable to, whatever the first name label should be for English, if the subscriber chose English. So this first name label would be equal to first name, and in French it would be prénom. And then this essentially just, in your HTML down here, you have those variables set so it knows that, okay, for my first name, I'm using the first name label based on that language, last name label based on the language. So to answer your question, you're essentially using a combination of both. The AMPscript is doing kind of all the linking between the page and your tables, your all subscribers list, and the other values that you want to be displayed in your preference center. And then down here you have the actual HTML that's built out that references that information, right? So here's my first header, my second header, my first name, last name label, email label. Here's my language label that says language preference, or whatever the language preference is in French, for example. So it's essentially a combination of both, right? So it's not one or the other. So this is what your cloud page would look like essentially. And will you be sharing with us the AMPscript and the cloud pages for us to try? Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Andre, let me know how best to send it to everyone that's attending. And yeah, I can definitely make that available.
Awesome, that's great, and thank you so much for that. Any other questions if you guys have? I know there were a few things that I really liked. One was the label thing that you did for the different languages. So that was very smart to use a data extension to bring into all that text, instead of having everything if this then that, or like have the actual labels in the HTML. So that was, I really like that part. Yeah. Guys, any other questions? In that case, yeah, thank you so much everyone for attending. If you guys have questions, just make sure to connect with Coyote, myself, or Gregory from DESelect on LinkedIn, and then feel free to ask us any questions, and see you probably at the next one. And everyone have a great night or day, and thank you so much for joining, and thanks again, Coyote, for the presentation.
No problem. And just one last question for the people that wanted the slides and the code just to test it out themselves. Do you have a list? Can I just send that to you? Can we do that offline? Make sure everyone has that information, or how best can they?
Yeah, you can send that to me, and then I can send it out to the people from this platform, from the event platform.
Awesome. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. I hope you guys found that useful.
Thanks again, everyone. Bye bye.